Silence by Thomas Hood, 1799 to 1845. There is a silence where hath been no sound. There is a silence where no sound may be, in the cold grave, under the deep, deep sea, or in the wide desert where no life is found, which hath been mute and still must sleep profound. No voice is hushed, no life treads silently, but clouds and cloudy shadows wander free, that never spoke over the idle ground, but in green ruins, in the desolate walls of the antique places where man hath been, though the dun fox or wild hyena calls, and owls that flit continually between shriek to the echo, and the low winds moan, there the true silence is self-conscious and alone. Okay, this poem is by Thomas Hood. Thomas Hood is an English poet, author and humorist as well. He was born and brought up in London. His father was a bookseller who originally came from a family of Scottish farmers. So, what's this about? Well, this poem is about silence. It's about the difference between silence in natural places, places that are naturally silent, and silence in places where man has been. And it's looking at the contrast between these two types of places, these places where silence once was, where silence is the norm, and where silence it didn't used to be. So let's see. There is a silence where hath been no sound. So there's a silence in places where there's never been any sound. There is a silence where no sound may be. So there is a type of silence in places where it's not possible for sound to be. There has been no sound. In the cold grave, under the deep, deep sea, or in the wide desert where no life is found. So these are examples of places where there has never been any sound. In the cold grave, there's no sound in the grave. Under the deep, deep sea, again there is no sound. Or in the desert, there's no sound because there's no life there. There's nothing there that's alive. Which hath been mute and still must sleep profound. So these are all places where it's always been mute, they've always been quiet, and these places they still continue without any sound. And then look at the rhyme here. Sound, found, profound, B-C. Okay, this is like perhaps like a limerick or something like that. And this is a very typical rhyming pattern. A B B A A B B A, and this is a very common rhyming pattern. And then the poem changes, and it now starts to talk about places which are different. So, must sleep profound. No voice is hushed, no life treads silently. So these are places where nobody is being quiet. Yeah, nothing is being quiet. There is no life that is silently going from one place to another, being quiet. And these are places where clouds and cloudy shadows wander free. So these are places dominated by the landscape, dominated by clouds, dominated by light and dark. But these are things that never spoke over the idle grounds. So these are places where nobody has ever spoken. And these places in themselves, their silence is majestic. Yeah, these places are filled with silence. And then the poem changes. But in green ruins, in the desolate walls of antique places where man has been. So now we're talking about different types of places. Green ruins, ruins which have been overgrown, ruins where people used to live. In the desolate walls, in the empty walls of antique palaces. I'm sorry, I've been saying places, but it's palaces. Where man has been. So in places where man has been, though the dun fox or wild hyena calls. Yeah, so maybe there's a dun, a brown fox or a wild hyena calling out. And owls that flit, that move continually between the walls, between the places. And they shriek to the echo, so the owls make a sound. And the low winds moan. Okay, and the wind is moaning through these places. There, the true silence is self-conscious and alone. So these places are full of silence. Yeah, they're full of silence. There is no escaping it. Yeah, here the silence is a lonely state. The silence is self-conscious. The silence is not free. It exists. The silence exists, but in a different form. And that's it. So enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. Silence by Thomas Hood.